Hello guys and welcome back to Josh Must Win, and today we've got a very entertaining episode to talk about. I feel like the further I get into this series, the more I'm enjoying it and the more I'm excited to see how it's going to turn out. I think this is a very cool prospect. I think that they're going to have to be very careful how they do this show if they bring it back for a second series, because I think people will be slightly suspicious. But also I think they could make it so that the point of the game is that they're still voting their favorite, but they don't know who the celebrities are trying to make win. Does that make sense? It'll be a very interesting concept if that was the case, because literally anything could happen with that. But for now, we are going to be talking about episode 2. It aired last night, and I gotta say, I had an absolutely fantastic time watching. So, without much further ado, make sure you guys are liking, commenting, and subscribing. You guys are doing absolute bits on the channel at the moment. We are on our way to 800. We still got a ways to go. We still got about 75, 76 subscribers left, but I have faith in you guys. You guys have got me to 700, you got me to 600, you got me to 500. So I know that you guys can definitely do this. So thank you guys very much. Let's get on with the video now. So, interestingly, we started out with the elimination, and I gotta say, it actually was a lot better than I thought it was going to go. It went a lot better than I thought it was going to go. So, the whole idea around the elimination is that somebody will be put in the bottom with the least favourite of the house by the favourites of the house. So in this instance, I think it was Miles, Jack, Maddie, I get those two mixed up, and Louis. They were the favourites, and they collectively had to decide on one person to go up against Josh. They decided on Gabby versus Josh. And unfortunately for Gabby, that meant that she was going home, because the idea of elimination is that the celebs decide who goes home. And it's basically because they've been told that there is a viewing audience that is obviously voting them out. And therefore, the celebs have the power to keep Josh in the game until the final, where he must win on his own. I don't know whether that's going to happen. I'm a little bit concerned, but at least they can keep him in there until the final, and then they essentially just have to hope that he's made enough headway and can win over the people still in the game. I think it's actually going to be very interesting to watch, because obviously they can manipulate the game how they want it to go. So, for example, if Louis ended up as the least favourite and, for example, Andre ended up there, Louis has got Josh's back, so they'd keep Louis over Andre because Andre might not have Josh's back. That kind of thing. It's a very interesting game, and I think it's just absolutely fascinating that this is all happening behind the scenes. So obviously, Gabby was evicted, eliminated, she's out the game. She had a mini fake interview with Nick Grimshaw. Had an interview with Nick Grimshaw, and she was like, oh, I've made friends for life in there. And I was like, bestie, you've been in there for 2 days. What do you mean you've made friends for life? That's ridiculous. Yeah, 2 days. She also said that Josh is actually really sweet. And then they exposed the truth to her, and they brought her in. She met Vicky Patterson, she met Amber Gill, she met Pete Wicks, and she was like, what is going on? And they were like, well, you're actually on Josh Must Win. And she was like, huh? And she was like, oh my god, that's so good. And she took it a lot better than I thought she would. And then when she found out that obviously if Josh wins, everybody wins, that's when she was like, oh, right, okay, cool. So I actually thought this went a lot better, and I now think that this is going to be one of my favourite parts of every episode, is finding out, like when the contestants find out that this actually isn't a real game and it's actually just Josh Must Win. It's going to be so entertaining to watch, and I just cannot wait. But yeah, that was pretty much it for Gabby, sadly. She didn't really add much to the house, in my opinion, but then again, the whole thing is focused on Josh, and so like we just didn't get to see a lot from her, so it makes sense for her to be a first out. But other than that, let's move on. So, before we get into the activity for the day, we are going to first talk about just little conversations that are happening throughout the house. One of the things they keep zooming in on is the milk carton and the fact that the label has Josh must win in fine print, which I find so funny, because if they actually like looked at it, where the sell-by date should be is the line Josh must win. It's very clever how they've done this. It's very clever indeed. But also we had Josh going outside with the group to do a group activity. It was like a group exercise activity. Different people were leading, and Sophia proved that she can't jump. It was really weird. She was like, and she wasn't really like jumping very high, and it was just a little bit awkward and uncomfortable to watch, but it also was very funny. And then Josh led the warm down, and it seemed like everyone was really supportive of him, and the fact that he was actually taking command and leading the group was actually really great, I thought. So yeah, I thought that was really sweet. And then he went back inside and had a meaningful conversation with Maddie and was like, yeah, I feel like I'm coming out of my shell now. I feel like there's a fire lit under my ass, etc, etc. So I feel like Maddie now really likes Josh a little bit more. But then in the bedroom, Miles, being the scheming bastard he is, was talking to Jack and Sophia, and he was like, I think Josh has got to be the next one to go. We've got to get rid of Josh. And I was like, rah, that's really weird. That's an odd thing to say, considering yesterday you were like, oh, I have a lot of respect for him. But clearly Miles is just concentrated on the fact that this game is the favourite and not actually, and like he's focused on winning rather than making bonds and friendships with people. I think that's the issue that he's facing currently, is that he's focused so much on winning and appealing to everyone that he's not appealing to individuals as such. He's got like a couple of people, but not enough to carry him to the final, let's say. So the challenge was here, and the celebrities actually had to choose a characteristic of being popular, I guess, to sort of test the group on, and they chose team player because they need something that what's his face, Josh, he's literally in the name of the show, Josh is going to do well at, and Josh is a team player, I think. So they were also told that someone had to go in and be in disguise, and obviously Pete got the short end of the stick. He was dressed up in an orange, like, what was it? It was like an orange bodysuit, like completely head to toe orange. I'm not even convinced he could see properly. He must have been able to, and he'd been able to hear, but like, his whole body was covered in just orange, and it was so funny. It was so funny to watch. So, in order to make the challenge as hard as possible for everyone else and as easy as possible for Josh, they decided to research the contestants and work out what dares they might not want to participate in. For example, like Miles was given the fish slap one, but we'll get more onto that later. Maddie was given a hot and spicy one when she doesn't like spicy foods, things like that. They also rigged the prizes. So they were competing for a party that night, and if they each completed their dares, they'd get a different thing for the party. Most of the prizes were a bit naff, but the one that they gave to Josh was the alcohol for the party, which obviously if he won that, big props, he's won the party element of the party, which is good. And then they started testing out some of the dares on Pete, and it was just hilarious. When Vicky Patterson slapped him with that fish, oh my goodness, I genuinely think I wet myself. It was so funny because it was like a slap. It was a bit tough, I won't lie. So we get on to the dares, and the dares were actually quite entertaining to watch. Matt had to hold fish brine in his mouth and get slapped by progressively bigger fish just for a sushi platter. I don't think that's worth it. I'm sorry. It's not worth it at all. But he did it. Took it like a champ. I wouldn't have done that. Maddie then had to eat loads of spicy stuff. She had to eat like hot sauce. And then she had to eat like the Carolina Reaper pepper. Again, you wouldn't catch me doing that, and that was literally just for some nachos, which, I'm sorry, I have to talk about the nachos. They had so many shots of the nachos at the party, untouched. I'd have taken a whole bowl for myself, and I'd just sat there eating it. eating and eating and eating and eating because they looked gorgeous. And then suddenly it was midnight and I was craving nachos. I was so upset. So upset. Louis then had to have a pizza facial, which was essentially just squirting tomato sauce on his face, putting cheese on his face, putting toppings, and then closing a pizza box on him. It was really weird, but he won pizzas for the party, obviously. Then Jeanette had to stick her face into like curdled sour milk to fish out an ox tongue. It was, again, the weirdest challenge, and that was for a Polaroid. And, like, I gotta say, she gave her best shot, but she didn't manage to do it because it seemed like a really difficult, tough challenge to do because the vat of, like, curdled sour cream or, like, milk was just so deep. And, you had to stick your whole body in, basically, just to even get to the bottom, which I'm assuming is where the ox tongue sunk to. Sophia then had to be put into like a human-sized balloon and then have it pop, which I thought was pretty poor, but she's obviously not a fan of popping balloons. And that won her fizzy drinks. Andre and Jack then had to hopscotch on Lego. Barefoot as well. Not barefoot, they had socks on, but like, ow! Anybody who's trod on Lego knows how fucking sore that hurts. So to purposely jump... But they both did it, and they managed to get games for the party. And then Josh finally had to endure a number of snaps and pings. So he had like braces on, and he had to endure some like tough pings. That was hard. That one in the alcohol. But then the celebrities also devised a plan to give him the opportunity to win the Polaroid by doing the same thing that Jeanette did. And they made it slightly easier for him so that he would win it. And he got the Polaroid and everyone greeted him with like a hero's welcome back. I personally think this is heading in the right direction. I think Josh is actually coming more out of his shell because he's got a fire under his ass. And now I think he's starting to get the idea of the show and is starting to play into the sort of like, fuck it, let's do it. Why not? Let's just do it. Because it's actually working out for him. And I think just as the episodes go by, we're going to see him flourish more and more, develop more and more connections in the house. He's already got some good ones. So I think that we've got some good momentum here. The first episode was a little bit shaky, but we're making it, and I'm kind of hooked now, and I hope you guys are too. So we're now going to talk about favourites and least favourites. The voting time happened and Jeanette was up first. Her favourite was Louis and her least favourite was Miles. No surprise there. Louis is the person that she gets on the most well. She gets on the most she gets on the best with in the house. And Miles is just someone that I think is rubbing people up the wrong way. He's very, very outspoken about the fact that he's like, this is a game. But I don't think people are appreciative of that. Yeah. Maddie's favourite is Miles, surprisingly, but Miles, Maddie and Jack have got like a little trio going on, so again, not too much of a surprise. But her least favourite was Andre, which I found really, really interesting, because again, we haven't really seen much from Andre, so maybe that's why he's coming up as someone's least favourite, just because there's not a lot of connection or conversation there. Miles voted for Maddie as his favourite and his least favourite as Sophia. Again, Maddie being his favourite is no surprise. They are quite tight, those two. But least favourite being Sophia, I think, again, is because she's quiet sometimes. She doesn't really add much to the conversation. And I think he's thinking about who would we miss. And he had that conversation earlier, or in the previous episode, about Josh and Sophia being cannon fodder. And I think he's following along with that. He voted for, he didn't vote for Josh last time, but Josh was up for eviction and didn't get evicted. So maybe voting for Josh again might not be the wisest choice. He's a game player. He's in it to win it. So he's got to do what he got to do. Then we had Jack. Jack's favourite is Miles. Again, no surprise with their little trio. His least favourite is Louis, which I found really interesting. That surprised me a little bit. Then we had Andre voting for Jeanette as his favourite. we had least favourite as Miles, and again, that did surprise me a little bit, because I thought Miles and Andre were cool, but apparently not. Apparently Andre thinks that Miles is his least favourite, which is absolutely fair and valid. For our game, Miles being in the bottom is perfect. Louis voted his favourite as Jeanette and his least favourite as Miles. Again, not a lot of surprise. I don't think that Louis has a lot of time for Miles's bullshit and his whole sort of like game playing atmosphere. I think Louis is very much like, I'm just here to enjoy myself. If I win, I win. That kind of thing. Whereas Miles is like, I have to win. I have to win. I must win. Yeah, so it does get a little bit awkward sometimes. Then we had Josh. His favourite is Louis. Again, no surprise. Least favourite, Miles. I'm fairly certain that he is the only person from episode 1, let me just check, that didn't change either of their votes, which I found very, very interesting. I'm just checking now. Oh, actually, no, Jeanette didn't change either. Jeanette didn't change. Maddie, yeah, everybody else changed because everybody else voted Josh as their least favourite, whereas this was different. Last but not least, we have Sophia. Sophia voted for Jeanette as her favourite and Miles as her least favourite. Seems like there's a mutual vibe between Sophia and Miles that they just don't click. But Jeanette being her favourite was not so much of a surprise as I thought it was going to be, actually. So after episode 2, Jeanette is the favourite of the house, Miles is the least favourite of the house, and now Jeanette has to put somebody up against Miles. And this is where it gets a little bit complicated, because if I was the celebrities, I would be thinking Miles has been voted by 5 out of the 8 housemates that can vote for him, therefore we have to keep him in the house. We should get rid of whoever goes up against him, because we know that for at least another day, Josh is going to be safe if Miles is still in the house. And then we can almost make it seem like Miles is the most popular with the public. And then just like when we don't need him anymore, get rid of him. That would be the smart play. I don't know if they're going to do it. Yeah, because obviously we don't know who's being put up against Miles. But I gotta say, Miles is fucking fuming. He was so angry. And there were so many moments where he was just acting pissed off like a sport brat. He had a conversation with Louis, and Louis had to walk away because Louis said something along the lines of like, I'm here for the experience, you're here for the cameras. And I was like, rah, Louis, you're poking the bear. You're poking the bear. This man's about to blow up. I wouldn't be surprised if he causes some arguments in the house, because Miles was also talking to Jack and Maddie and was like, they're going to get rid of us 3. They're going to pick us off one by one. They're going to get rid of us. They're going to play us against each other. It's fascinating, this gameplay. It's absolutely fascinating, and I'm really, really excited to see how it turns out. Obviously, they are thinking strategically within the game, but they don't know where the power truly lies, and I think that's why it's so fascinating to watch, because we've also got Louis, Jeanette, and Josh, who I'm 100% certain will vote for like Josh to stay in the competition because they've got his back, and so they like the celebrities need to keep them in order to make sure he has that support network. But that is all we have time for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all that YouTube stuff that you guys do so well. And I will see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be. Probably tomorrow, let's be honest. So make sure you subscribe. Keep on ranting. Bye now.